Hello and welcome back to Creepy Cutie Crafty. Welcome back to yet another crafting video with me, Heather. Hi guys, how you doing this week? So yes, this week I am continuing with my little goldwork project here. Last week I managed to finish off the moon. You probably saw a photograph of that on Instagram or something like that. I've still got to catch up on doing these two, but I'm going to move on to these two ears of wheat, by the way. I've done these three up here. I've just got to get these two done. I keep meaning to catch up, but things keep happening. That's life at the moment, isn't it? Things just keep happening. But I'm going to be moving on to doing these leaves here. Now, there's two types of leaves. You've got these big leaves here with the central divide there. You can see that on that one more clearly. And then you've got these two small ones here where it's just going to be a single leaf essentially. Now on both of these you can see we've got this sort of satin stitching that acts as a bit of what's the word, like packing, like a padding underneath them, to help give them a bit of dimensionality. Now these ones are more complicated. You need to get the pearl, which is the stuff that I was using last week. Let's even get it here. The pearl, this stuff that's fairly stiff, which I've used for the hairs on the ears of wheat and on the stars, and you use that to do sort of an outline around the edge, and then the central line there, so you sort of couch it down, and then add bits of chips going along the outside edges, and then you've got these ones which is just chips being going down the whole of the thing here. I'm losing my words. It's a great time to forget how to speak coherently when you're presenting to camera. But yeah, so I'm going to get started on this little tiny one here and then move up to this one here and then save these more complicated ones for next week. I'm hoping to get some of this done off screen as well. If you're new here, I'll just explain. This is the hand and lock and Bernadette Banner designed kit called the Wheatsheaf embroidery kit. Was available on the Hand and Lock website. So Hand and Lock are a very sort of prestige British embroidery company that's been going on for quite a long time, and they do all kinds of fancy gold work and other bits and pieces for the royal family and bits and pieces like that. But they also do sell like little kits and things. So ordinary people like me, part of the proletariat, we can get to have a go at creating goldwork images if we save up our pennies enough. The only reason I've got this is because it was a gift for my birthday, my 50th birthday last year. So yeah, but I'm really enjoying it. It's complicated, but it's fun. Also, Bernadette Banner, she is a historical costume vlogger. She talks a lot about historical sewing methods and costume design and creation methods, and really interesting channel, and I do recommend you go and have a look at her. What sort of piqued my interest about her most particularly was the embroidery that she does, but it is fascinating. And in here we've got all the instructions about how to make these bits and pieces. But yeah, that's something worth having a look at if you're interested in having a go with it. I think this kit might well have sold out by now, because it was on sale last year. But it's taken me a long time to get this done. However, they do have other kits and things, so I would suggest if you want to have a go at gold work, give it a try, but definitely have a go with a kit first, so you've got somebody walking you through what you need to do, and then maybe have a branch out on your own. So I've got all these little packs of different kinds of bullion, and by the looks of it, I'm going to have quite a lot left over, so I can have a go at doing my own thing afterwards anyway. So I'm going to try and sort of work out what I want to do with that. Do I want to have a go at doing something with black work? What do I want to have a go at? I don't know. Right, I'm just going to pause whilst I make this horrible crinkling noise, so back in a second. Okay, so for this one, you can see it's got the sort of satin stitch holding this down, and the really clever thing is they've done the satin stitch in the opposite direction to the way that you're going to be, well, the way that I'm going to be sewing. So on here, the stitches go that way, and I'm going to be lying the gold ruff going that way. Now, I'm not sure how how this needs to be put down. It says to couch it down, but I'm not sure. Hold on, let me get me instructions. It says here, hold on, it says here, for the 2 small leaves, which is the one that I'm starting with, cut pieces of gold rough bullion into lengths of 1 to 5 millimeters, stitch them down over the dark gold embroidered leaf shapes in the cut work technique. So yeah, I'm assuming, yep, it's the same sort of technique as we had with the ears of wheat here. So it's cut work technique. So you cut pieces, pass the thread through the center of the bullion, and then you couch them down, if they're big enough to couch down, obviously. But we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to get my goldwork snippers here. I'm using this one for the gold bullion, and then I'm using my embroidery scissors for the thread now, because I'm trying to make sure that I don't mess up my thread too much. So I'm going to try and put this up here so you can see what I'm doing. And it says 1 mil to 5 mil, and you can see how teeny tiny that is. And this one, it's a lot looser than the pearl, so it's going to be a bit easier to couch down, I think, but I don't know because I've not done this particular type before. I did my usual thing of cutting my thread and threading my needle, and then starting to sew, and then realised I'd forgotten to do the beeswax on it. So I've done the beeswax on the thread now, so hopefully that should be fairly easy to stitch this down. It does make a huge difference, I've got to be honest with you. So yeah, definitely beeswax your thread before you start. So I'm going to do like these 5 for now, and move my scissors over there, and I'm going to start with the smallest one at the tip here. So yeah, see if I can get my needle without prickling myself. Come on, needle, come on. So yep, there we go. So which one is the smallest? I think this one is the smallest one by the looks of it. And again, these are teeny tiny, so my eyes are struggling a little bit. But yeah, so how are you guys doing this week? It's been another interesting weekend. My last video went out on Friday, I believe. And yeah, it was a bit of a mad weekend, to be honest with you. So no, wait, I'm getting myself all messed around. So yeah, it's Friday is the day that I'm putting this video out. The last video I put out was on Monday, which for me was yesterday, because what I do is I film my Friday video on Tuesday, and do my Monday video over the weekend, so I can sort of catch up on things. But I'm finding now that because I'm doing 2 videos a week, I'm sort of going over the same stories and things a little bit, and I don't want to be too dull for you guys, because I know that I do sort of wind up wittering a bit. I did start doing whitework projects, well, my whitework practice last week, and I put my video out on Monday, which was all about whitework. It was all just whitework, and I get the horrible feeling that when I did it, I started to gabble, because either I'm nervous about it or I'm very excited about doing the whitework. So I just got very overexcited and started talking about all the bits and pieces that I wanted to do with it, and tried various different techniques, and then just lost track of myself. So yeah, I'm going to be going back to that later in this video. But yes, this is interesting, because this is almost the same as the pearl, but it's absolutely nowhere near as bright, which is why I guess it's called the rough rather than the smooth, because it's not as shiny. Oops, Daisy, you're going to go through? Yes, you are. I may have messed this up already, but I don't mind. Again, this is my first time doing this, so I'm not going to beat myself up. Yeah, I'm definitely learning a lot through doing this. So yeah, if you are interested in doing gold work or anything of this nature, I very much recommend giving Hand and Lock a check and seeing what you can do. And I mean, I do know there's various embroidery companies that do gold work. I've seen some on advertised on Facebook, in fact, they looked interesting, but they also looked a little bit how should I put it? It looked like they were selling the shine but not the process, if you know what I mean. So probably not the best people to go to, but I think there's been a rise very much recently in interest for more traditional fabric crafting techniques, hasn't there? So the YouTubing crafting community and the slow stitch revolution and things like that, it's all things that are starting to make a difference in the real world, I suppose, because I mean, it's one of those funny things. Again, anybody who's making regular YouTube type videos knows that if you see in the news or if you see in whatever, people talking about YouTube versus the real world. So in YouTube we've got these little videos, and we've got crafters and we've got makers and people doing things on Instagram as well, but it's kind of seen as not the real thing, and it's only the real thing if somebody proper gets involved, which I think is kind of short-sighted. But we're not going to be big corporate companies selling TV programs and personalities and people like that. We're just people who enjoy what we're doing, and we're enjoying sharing our ideas and our passions with the world, aren't we? Really, it's quite interesting, and it's also fascinating because in this country we've got the BBC, and the BBC has been seen as this big sort of behemoth of entertainment, and they're the establishment, and they're the big guns, the big kahuna, I suppose, and they're the ones who decide what we should watch and decide what is legal and what is available on TV and blah blah blah, and this is one that I think Americans don't quite get, but we have the TV license, which is basically the BBC saying, if you want us to continue making programs, you've got to pay us. And now, in the last week or two, the BBC has started to panic a little bit because their license is about to expire, and YouTube watching has passed BBC watching by quite a large margin in the last year. So there's more people watching YouTube in the United Kingdom than there is people watching BBC, and it's fascinating because you've got things like Netflix and you've got things like Amazon Prime and people like that, and they're all going, well, you need to watch TV, you need to watch this, you need to watch that, and then they're sort of going more and more for entertainment rather than for information. And in contrast, lots and lots of people are starting to get more of their information, more of their history, and their project ideas and their educational stuff from podcasts and from YouTube videos and from things like that, rather than from serious programs made by serious people, because we're now picking and choosing who we're choosing to listen to. And you know, you're going to have the gamut of, well, there's going to be some people who are talking, but maybe they don't know what they're talking about quite, which is, you know, fair enough. But then you've got other people who are going in for folks who do know their stuff and have proven that they know their stuff, and, you know, they've got themselves their credentials, and they've literally talked to us about their credentials, you know, their education, their experience, and so on and so forth, and they've shared it as part of their podcast or as part of their YouTube channels or whatever. And it's making a lot of difference, because apart from anything else, you know, you can talk to the people who are making these videos, you can question them, you can have that dialogue that becomes so much more interesting and so much more engaging, and, you know, people are able to check, you know, where their information is coming from, and you know, cite their sources and find these bits and pieces like this. And I think it's fascinating, but I also think it's fascinating that so many of the more traditional companies, you know, entertainment companies, are panicking because this isn't how things were supposed to be. We're not supposed to be getting our information from people who know what they're talking about, but aren't towing certain, you know, party political lines. And, you know, the BBC is not supposed to be political. It's supposed to be impartial, but it still shares some of its politics on the screen. And yeah, I mean, it's like those things. When I was doing my periods of study, they always say, look, you know, it's all well and good to get your information from one source, but you've got to make sure that you're not just using that one source to base your findings on, because you need multiple viewpoints, you need multiple perspectives, and you need to recognise that. And yet, an awful lot of the stuff, again, in academia as well, is all coming from one particular perspective, and it's sort of compounding what's already been taught with people who have cited the people who've come before. So they just wind up, you know, saying the same thing, but with a slightly different not even just like a perspective, it's just slightly different wording or slightly different appreciation, I suppose. It's fascinating. That was one of the things that I always found interesting when I was doing my thesis on cross-cultural encounters and things like this. Is like, if you're going to be doing an essay, you have to write the essay using sources that have already been used in multiple other essays, and then you've got to have that as your source of information. And yet I was talking about cultures that don't necessarily ascribe to that academic process. You know, they have their own way of marking their histories and keeping their cultures alive and so on and so forth, but their view of their own culture was superseded by stuffy old men writing essays in British universities. So it's fascinating, and it's kind of, you can only have this point of view if you're using the point of view of the people who have already put their point of view across and have been accepted as great researchers or great writers or whatever. It's kind of sad, really. But am I getting on my soapbox? I may be. But I mean, that thing about YouTube and the BBC, and it is fascinating, because I very, very rarely watch terrestrial TV anymore. I do most of my TV viewing on a smart TV, and I very, very, very rarely watch the BBC. There are some very good shows on there. One of the ones I really do love is Horrible Histories, which technically it might not actually be factual history, but it's engaging and it's funny, and it's taking a slightly skewed view of the world. It's meant for children, and yet it's super engaging. So it's just fascinating. But it's that kind of, oh, this has been done before, but we're going to do it in a different way. We're going to do it in a way that works for us and for a certain slightly more dismissed segment of society, and somehow it captures the imagination. It captures these ideas. It captures people's interest, and that's what's the great thing about it. And I know an awful lot of people who, when they were younger, watched Horrible Histories, and then found themselves fascinated by history because of it, and have gone on to become proper historians, using, that energy, that engagement as the impetus for them to make their own mark. But I mean, yeah, it's been an interesting week for YouTubers and for podcasters and people like that, because as well as this news from the BBC that we're all watching YouTube more than we're watching the BBC, which they have responded to that, and it's not been a particularly good response, because they've now decided that they want to change the law, change the rules, so that YouTube has to prioritise the BBC's output, which makes no sense. The whole point about us watching YouTube is because we don't want to watch the BBC. We've also had a bit of an upset in the film world, which is fascinating, because I don't know. I mentioned that this on Monday, that me and Squinks, we were going to go to the cinema, and we were going to watch Iron Lung, which is this film by a YouTuber, Mr. Markiplier, who is well respected in YouTube, but unfortunately wasn't well respected outside of YouTube for the greater part. And he self-financed and wrote and directed and acted in a movie called Iron Lung. And this is the same week that certain other films that I shall not name have come out, and Iron Lung was at the top of the viewing figures. It was the number one film over the weekend. However, the industry doesn't seem to care about that, and has put other films first because they are proper films. And me and Squinks went to see this movie, and yes, it has its flaws. Yes, it's shonky in certain places, because it's the first time he's ever done this to this degree. But it was really, really good, and I really enjoyed it. I loved the suspense. I loved the acting. I loved the plot was very solid in that it gave you the answers, but it didn't hand you the answers. You had to put the information together whilst you were watching, and work out what was going on. And even then, it didn't have all of the answers handed to you at the end of the movie, because it left you open for more viewings, for repeat viewings, I suppose. And I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was an amazing film, and definitely an amazing achievement for somebody who's being dismissed as only a YouTuber. Which personal taste and all that, and there's going to be detractors, and there's going to be people saying, well, it could have been better. Yes, they're right, it could have been better. But for somebody's first attempt at making a movie on a very, very shoestring budget, I think it was one heck of an achievement. And I think that Mr. Markiplier, Mr. Fishback, should be very, very proud of himself. But we'll have to see how the rest of the world reacts over the next few weeks. It's just funny to watch, to be honest with you, and it's almost like people are panicking, realising that actually these people know what they're doing. But yeah, let me know down in the comments, have you been to see Iron Lung? What do you think of the movie? I did really like it, but I was trying to be sort of cautious and not going in thinking, oh well, I want to like this because I want to like it, because I want to like it. I went in thinking, okay, I'm not expecting much because it's a YouTuber, it's somebody who's doing this and it's their first time, but I want to enjoy it. And I was enthralled. I really, really enjoyed it. And I know lots of people are saying, well, it's just Markiplier being Markiplier. You can't watch it and think, it's the character. It's just the person, the personality that we know is what we're going to see. You're absolutely right. But I've got to be honest with you, isn't that what you do when you see things like other Hollywood type actors going on the screen? Do you think, oh, this is a Leonardo DiCaprio movie, or this is a Johnny Depp movie, or this is a whoever movie? You do. But the point is that even though you recognise their faces, the characters have to be different. And yeah, the character was very, very different from Mr. Markiplier. Just watching his Mr. Markiplier just doing his gameplay, because that's how it is. That's how it was. Anyway, I've been wittering on about this for quite a long time, haven't I now? But yeah, it's going to be nice to see. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. Come on, let's see if we can get this in there. Are you gonna? Nope. Come on. But yeah. I'm really hoping that this is going to mean that YouTubers and YouTuber skills are going to be taken a bit more seriously over the next year or two. I don't know. We shall see. Anyway, I think I'm nearly done with this one, so I'm just going to finish off this last little bit here. That went down a lot quicker than I expected. It's not perfect. It is a little bit shonky, but I like it. Anyway. Okay, I think I'm done for that bit now. And I'm going to bring this needle up into this bit here, because this is going to be the next bit that I'll do on the next video. And yeah, what do we think of that one? I think that's quite nice. It's definitely a different texture. It's different sort of glint to the other bits and pieces. It's not a bright check. It's not a pearl, and it's not a smooth. This is definitely a rough. You can, it's interesting seeing that the different ways that the different types of bullion play with the light. It's like you've got these bright things over here, but then you've got the dimmer beads, and you've got the bright ones here, and then the dimmer rough bullion. Fascinating. I'm really loving how this is going. Really loving how it's going. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments, and I'll post a picture at the end of the video anyway. Anyway, going to set up for the next bit, and I will see you in a bit. Bye. Okay, so I'm back, and I'm back at this whitework project. And like I said earlier, I think when I was doing my video for Monday, I wound up gabbling a little bit because I don't know why, I just started to get too excited, I suppose. But I'm going to be back to finishing these bits off here. You can see I've done them all on the other side. I made a bit of a boo-boo here. This was supposed to be more like this one here. So this here and this here was supposed to be the same. But I can go back in and do that in a minute, and I can show you how I did it as well. I've also done a row of eyelets going around the outside here. And I just want to finish the ones going off around the outside edge here. I finished off this outline. This was the one where I pulled it, so you've got this little sort of row of holes next to the holbein stitch, and you've also got this down here where I did some pulled threads. I think I would like to have another go at another pulled thread design before I go on to anything new. But the first thing I'm going to do is come in to sort this one out here. This is a very, very uneven piece of whitework. You can see that I've got sort of 4 here pulled out, and then there's 5 here, and then there's 4 here, and then there's it's not at all proper in the technical sense, but it's it's my practice. And this one's got 5 as well. So what I'm going to do is, rather than having it like that, I'm going to split that middle one so that we can have it even on both sides. And then what I'm doing is going in on the outside and then coming back in through the middle that I've split, and then pulling it nice and tight, going into the outside edge there, and then again putting it in through the middle there. And this is making quite a nice band. So it's sort of, I'm going in sort of a figure 8, going over and under, and then pulling in from the center, so it's nice and even. Yes, like I say, this is super uneven work. Don't take this as professional white work, because it's nowhere near that. But I really like how it's looking, and I'm definitely learning a lot whilst I'm doing it. So after the very soapboxy first half hour, I'm going to try and get off that subject and talk about something else. I do try at the start of my videos to write down a list of things to talk about, like topics to talk about, so I don't have like dead space of me just breathing into the camera, which, let's face it, that still happens when I get bit more concentrated on what I'm doing, but I do try to have some things to talk about. And now that I've got 2 videos a week coming out, it's getting a bit more difficult to think of new things to talk about. So yeah, it's a fun little conundrum that I've created for myself. But yeah, so I mean, I'm starting to get my projects and ideas together. I've got this one to finish. Obviously, I'm going to be doing a bigger piece with this, and I don't know quite what I'm going to do with that yet. Thinking I'm going to be using my much larger embroidery stand rather than a hoop, just because I want to have something to work on as a totality. And as part of that, I am going to be doing a design using my my tablet, using a Graph. And I think next week I'll show you how to do that. I was thinking of doing that today, but I would like to get ahead with this first. And next week I can show you what I'm thinking about and what I'm talking about, because it's nice to show how I do that side of the process as well. Right, so that goes in there, so it's like a little anchoring stitch, and then I'm going to go to there like that, and then back out to there. Now this is going to be separate. I don't want to weave this one. I want this one to be 2 separate strands, like these ones here. So it's just going to be like this. So it's just sort of winding around it. You can do the back and forth again if you've got the 2 stitches there, the 2 threads there, but it's not strictly necessary. But we'll get to that bit when we get to that bit, I think. Yeah, I'm going to show you how to do some well, I'm going to show myself how to do some decorations on these as well, because once you've got these little cells all created, then you can add extra stitches into the center. So once I've got all these little bits of division done, then I can come in and do some more decorative stitches, which will be fun. I mean, this is all decorative. It's you know, none of it is completely superfluous. It's all adding to the overall design, isn't it? So, but you can also add some stitches that sort of go into these little empty spaces, and I'll talk about those in when I get to that. But yes, and you can see how that's starting to come together like that. And then I put that one into there, and then come back out, oopsie daisy, there. So I'm going to try and split this one again because it's 5 stitches, and I'm going to come back in through, oopsie daisy, there. But yeah, so yeah, after his health scare last week, my dad has just come home from hospital yesterday, and he seems to be doing okay. I really hope that it's good news for now. But yeah, it's like I said, my parents are very much advanced in years, and really hoping that, you know, it's going to be a bit less scary for a while. There we go. Oopsie daisy, that was trying to come across. Over you go. There we are. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? It's the passing of time. I'm quite matter of fact about illness and death. It's part of life, isn't it? And I've never been sentimental about that kind of thing. Quite like for it not to happen, but at the same time, it happens. There's nothing you can do about it. But yeah, it's an odd one. My mum is obviously, you know, running around after him, which is what my mum does. I just hope that she's making sure that she takes care of herself as well, because that's so often the case, isn't it? I mean, anybody who's been through the same, they'll know that whilst one parent or one partner is sick, often the other partner will, you know, expend a lot of time, energy and emotion on making sure that their loved one is safe. But there we go. Anyway, so yeah, he's home now, and it's going to be interesting to see them. We're hoping to go and visit them over half term, which is in only a few weeks now, which is again completely mad. Yeah. Anyway, this is the one where I got it wrong, so I'm going to go back and try to make it look like it's more intentionally done and bring them together slightly. There we go. It's not perfect, but you know, it's a fix-it for what we've done. Some of these threads are very much loose, and like I said, I've got this new pair of embroidery scissors. They're not super fancy, but they are a lot sharper and a lot more easy to control on a surface like this, and help me with snipping me threads and things, because when I was snipping my threads on this one, I accidentally snipped some of the cluster blocks. You can see there where some of them have come undone, so this is going to look very messy at the end of it, but it's still going to be nice, I think. So I'm going to bring that one up through there, just do a little anchor stitch through there, and then what I can do is I can come, oopsie daisy, just anchoring it down, and I'm going to do a little bit of a decoration here. Let's see how we go. So this one goes, oopsie daisy, to here. Don't want to put it too tight because I want to have a bit of give there. And that one goes up to there. You can sew through the line here, but you can also leave it loose like that. This is not perfect. Again, I'm not aiming for perfection. I'm just having fun and playing around. So I think I went in the wrong way there, so I needed to come. Did I? No, I went through the right way. I just forgot what I was doing for a second, because that's what I do. And then that comes back, oopsie daisy, to here, and then I can do a quick anchoring stitch there, and then that's the first little bit of decoration done. I'm not expert at this by any stretch of the imagination, same as I keep saying before, but you know, it's getting there. I'm going to come in, oops, if I can, there, and I'm going to do this one different. So I'm going to do the inner ones like this and the outer ones in a different way, and I might do something different completely in the center here. I don't know. We shall see. So what I'll do is I'll do a couple of winds around there. Excuse my stomach. And put it into there. Come back out here and do a couple of winds around there. It looks a bit messy, but hopefully it should open out nicely when I'm done. That goes into oopsie daisy there. Like that. And that comes back up here. Let's see if I can get that nice and tight. do a couple of lines around there. Oopsie daisy. And then just come up through here. So it's not quite right, but I'm learning. And then that can go up, oops daisy, through there. And then I can pass that under there and out. Oopsie daisy. There we go. So it's a first attempt. It's not perfect, but you know, it's a first attempt. So I'll try and do that one going all the way around here on the inside squares, on these 3 squares here. And these ones on the outside edges, just so I give myself a bit more space. And then I can just do some more of these. You've got to be kind of careful when you do it like this, because it's very easy to catch this one down here that you've already stitched. I've caught it several times already. That's why I'm using my thumbnail to pull it back. But yes, it's a really fun process. I like seeing how these shapes and things come together. But yeah, like I say, don't take this as a how to, take this as a how not to. So I'm making mistakes and I'm learning from them. That's the idea with this one. And you know, if I don't make mistakes, I'm not going to learn. And I like to be honest about my skill levels. I'm pretty good at embroidery, but I know I'm not the best out there, and I also know that I've still got a lot to learn about it. I'm still relatively new to the craft of embroidery, because I've only been doing it for what, year and a half, 2 years. So it's great fun, but maybe I take on too many challenges. If you think I take on too many challenges, please let me know down in the comments, because you know, maybe I should do things that aren't so challenging. There we go. Problem with this hardanger fabric is that it's designed so that it can be separated. So unfortunately, whilst I'm stitching, the actual threads are coming undone. The weave is coming undone around the edge. I could have, you know, done a hem around the edge to stop that from happening, but as I'm only doing this as a practice piece, I'm not worrying about it too much, because I don't need to. It's essentially like working on a scrap, or I mean, I know you got people who do samplers and things like that, but I'm guessing that for most of the samplers, you do them once you have enough skill to show off what you can do. I don't know. Anyway, and I like how this is looking. And the thing with these sort of separated sort of stands here, like these ones here, is that you can then sew them so that they pull in like that, and have other dimensions as well. I've also seen somewhere when they've been sewn, they've been, oops, let's see if I can do this on this one, they get twisted like that as they go around. So I'm interested in seeing if I could do something like that, but maybe a bit later, once I've got this bit sort of looking semi complete, looking semi legitimate, I was going to say. But yeah, I know I'm a bit negative about my work, but you know, I feel like I still do have a lot to learn, and I'm very pleased with what I've managed to do, and I am having great fun with it. So you know, it's not all doom and gloom. But yeah, what I'm trying to do is get up to here so I can start doing another eyelet. the back of this looks horrendous. But I was thinking that, this could be really good for a Christmas craft, couldn't it? Because you could have something like this, a little square like this, and then behind it have a red velvet or some brightly coloured thing, and turn that into a Christmas decoration, or a cover for a birthday card or something like, or a Christmas card or something like that. I think it could look really nice. It is very super decorative, and it's one of those things where for years, I'd go to museums and things, and they'd have items of costuming and things on display, historical costuming, and I'd be there going, yep, that's great, needle and thread, don't care. But now, since having somewhat submersed myself into the craft of sewing and stitching, and they're going, I can't believe these guys used to do this all the time. I guess that's what happens when you don't have TV and radio to distract you. And I guess for quite a lot of sewers at the time, reading wouldn't have been so much of a consideration. But it's fascinating to watch, because there is definitely a language in it. There's definitely a form of communication here that is non-verbal, and it's fascinating. It's showing how people have created these things with not very much, but an awful lot of skill and an awful lot of love for the people that they're making these things for. It's fascinating. I don't know though. Anyway, so I'm going to come out there. What I'm doing is I'm going through the cluster blocks behind. Just to remind you, these little squares here, they're called cluster blocks. And gonna try and do another eyelet. Now, I did these ones here. I did these ones off screen. I did a couple of them on screen, but I'm not yet au fait with them. So I'm bringing the thread through to the centre, putting my needle into the hole in the centre, wiggling it around. So it's like this, putting the needle in like that, and then wiggling it around to make a bigger hole like that one, which can be undone, as I've just proven. But I'm going to do it on the like an X first, and this is where having a better even stitch would be key, because some of these you can see on some of the eyelets that I've done, they've completely lost the edges on them because I made them so uneven. But I think overall they're looking pretty good. They're not the best eyelets you're ever going to see, because I've only just started doing these a few days ago. So you see, I'm just making that hole a bit wider, putting that through to hold it tight, and then going to the other corner. And of course you can do multiple stitches, but the problem is that if you do multiple stitches, you're more likely to fill the hole in the centre with stitches rather than with hole. And there we go. So just trying to do more anchoring stitches on this one, and bringing that one up through to there, putting that a bit wider again as I'm going. So yeah, I did it on the X, of making an X first, and then doing it on across. So we've got 8 radiating stitches holding this eyelet open. I'm guessing this would be very useful for making eyelets for lacing and things like that, maybe. I don't know, I'll have to look that up. I didn't even think of that, to be honest with you. I was thinking of it purely as a decorative thing, but maybe it does actually have a function as well. That's the centre there, abouts. Yeah, you can see like that stitches come all the way undone, so I might have to stitch over it in a few minutes. But pull the needle through, make a big hole in the centre, and then I'm just going to, oopsie-daisy, fix this little bit here. There we go. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for now. If there's a good sort of phrase that I know people sometimes use, that perfect is the enemy of good. So if you're aiming only for perfection, all you're going to see is the problems and constantly trying to perfect something that is already, you know, not even just good enough, something that is good, means that you wind up losing what is good about something in pursuit of something that maybe it can't be achieved. It's not necessarily a case of, you know, give up when it's good enough and that it'll do, but also recognise that maybe good enough is good enough for now, I suppose. A bit deep and philosophical there, but also maybe a bit of twaddle as well. If I didn't talk twaddle, you wouldn't, you know, you would notice the difference, wouldn't you? I do talk some nonsense sometimes, and I do fully admit that. I have a funny list of, you know, topics in my head, and sometimes they don't make sense. If I did start making sense, again, you guys would probably find it a bit weird, wouldn't you? Anyway, on we go. There we are. Just going to do another little anchoring stitch there because that's still looking a bit loose. And then put that in there. Yeah, I know next time when I start doing the cluster blocks and start doing the snipping, I'm going to be a lot more careful because those little tails do sort of keep coming out, which is a little bit frustrating, but like I say, it's all part of the learning process, learning what to do and what not to do. And next time I will know better what not to do, won't I? Promises. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's going to be another busy year of crafting for me, and I'm going to be starting to look at what I want to do with my sashiko project. I've been collecting bits and pieces of old jeans and fabric for a while now, and I know that I want to make myself a bag. Not a tote bag this time. This time I want to make a handbag, something that I can actually use from day to day, which I think is going to be great fun. So that one is probably going to actually be that split there. So yeah, there we go. And I think this is going to be the last one that I'm going to make because I need to stop filming soon, so I don't have more than an hour of videoing. So what I'll do is I will bring myself up through there. And I will park my needle over here so it doesn't distort this. And I'll say, there we go. What do you think of that then, guys? It is starting to come together. It's starting to look quite nice, but it is literally a practice thing. And I'm learning a lot from it, and I'm looking forward to having a go at a proper design with it. Like I say, I want to combine this with the backwork and maybe some sashiko, maybe some gold work. I don't know. I'm letting the ideas percolate, and hopefully they'll come together before I actually start sewing. We shall see though. Anyway, let me know what you think of this down in the comments. Have you had a go at doing white work yourself? What kind of white work practice, what kind of process do you like the most? What's your favourite bit of these bits and pieces? I really like the weaving here. I'm not so keen on this bit here, but I've only just started doing it. I do like the way, you know, you can pull and manipulate the threads, and I do really like these, and I want to have a go at doing some more of these kinds of designs here. As I said in the last video, I'm thinking of coming back and doing this with some variegated thread and some other bits and pieces, so get my ideas together for that. So yeah, make sure you stay tuned for that, and if you're going to leave a comment, also remember to like and subscribe and all those lovely little things that help a tiny channel like mine to grow. I'm very, very close to 1,000 subscribers now, so I'm really looking forward to seeing to getting to that point, and maybe I'll do something themed around 1,000. I don't know. Anyway, like I say, let me know what you think of that down in the comments, and yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you very much again for watching, and bye bye.